Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the zoning subcommittee meeting for May 13, 2013. We have several items on the agenda this evening, first of which is application C13-03 for kids only after school seeking a special permit to construct a second floor addition to change the use of existing structure and enable the appellant to operate an after-school program facility on lot 66C and 67 at 85 Broadway, Revere, Mass. We've had this matter before us. I understand that the applicant is here this evening, and there's been several changes to the, additions to the whole scenario, and if you'd like to speak on that, we'd like to hear you. Yeah, well, they did a parking study. They're going to explain that, I hope.
Good afternoon.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Sean Donahue. I'm an attorney. I represent the applicant. My address is 88 Black Falcon Avenue, Suite 204 in Boston. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. I understand that among other things, that there is a payment in lieu of tax agreement that you've concluded with the city. Could you care to comment on that, or?
I guess I'd ask the applicant to come forward and she can address that. But yes, you're correct. There has been a payment in lieu of tax agreement that's been executed by the city and for kids only. Do you wish to comment on that?
Yes, hello, Mr. Chair. My name is Debbie Neal and Keegan, and for kids only after school programs and the city of Revere have come to an agreement. We have agreed to pay 60% of the assessed property value of taxes in good neighborly gesture.
Very well. Excellent way to put it. I also have been in receipt from Mr. Donahue of a parking operations study or traffic operations study completed, I believe, by Conley and Associates.
That's correct.
And my understanding from reading the application is it addressed two things. I don't know if the Conley and Associates, what their expertise is on the 21E issue, but reading the results, it appears that there are no further requirements for treatment or anything on the property from what I read.
Yes, for the sake of clarification, Conley Associates has nothing to do with the 21E.
Okay.
They strictly did the traffic plan.
Okay. And the 21E, the Clean Soils Environmental, was put together with the traffic study. Is that my understanding?
Yes, sir.
And I also understand, after reading the results of the 21E from Clean Soils, that there was no need, according to Clean Soils, of any further abatement. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's my understanding as well.
All right. And as to the Conley Associates reports, it appears that it addresses the parking issue. Is that my understanding?
The parking issues insofar as it relates to, the drop-off and picking up of children, yes.
Right. Okay. But there was no specific traffic study done as to the effect of traffic on Broadway and Revere Beach Parkway at this point?
Not by Conley Associates. However, my understanding that we have spoken with Sergeant Giannino.
Yeah.
And he was putting something together as well.
I haven't seen anything from him, but we have to go forward with this, as you know, tonight, because the time is kind of up here. We have to report it out. And I believe it'll be taken up by the city council later on. If you have nothing else to add, I would ask my committee members first. Councilor Haas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question on the agreement with the city. That's 60% of the assessed value of the property, correct?
Correct.
Right, that's a nice compromise between you and the city, I believe.
I just wanted to state that our intention has always been to enter into a payment in lieu of tax. Payment in lieu of taxes, there was some sort of, I guess, confusion as we moved along between the powers that be. But nonetheless, I just want to make it clear that it was always our intention to enter into an agreement, as we said from the start. Right. And fortunately, we were able to make that agreement.
I'm glad you worked with the Assessors Department to make that a reality. Also, as Chairman mentioned, as far as the contamination, through the studies, there's no further contamination on the property.
Correct.
even if you were to put pilers down and add a second story, correct?
That's our understanding.
All right.
Again, we're not the professionals, but certainly the vendor that was hired to do that service is, and I believe that's
He
their
indicated it
opinion.
was. Okay. No further comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hess. Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Chairman Reardon. I've looked over the documents and the information that's before us, and especially on the 60% tax agreement. I think it's a win-win for the city of Revere. And I prepared to vote. I will vote in favor of this tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I failed to mention that Councilor Correggio and Councilor Hess are members of the subcommittee. We also have Councilor Penta, Councilor Novoselsky, Councilor Patch, and Councilor Ganasso here joining us from the regular city council. We do not have Councilor Arrigo and Councilor Giannino at this point, but as I suggested, this will be reported out of subcommittee at this point to the full council this evening. I anticipate a vote. Yes, sir.
Are you inviting other councilors to ask questions or
Absolutely.
inquiry?
I would ask, however, that we keep things brief because, as you all know, we have
I
a meeting at 5
absolutely will do
o'clock.
that. I will yield if the Ward 1 councilor has anything to say. Since it's his ward,
I was going to
yield.
save him for last, so go ahead.
Okay, then if you save him for last, then it's always best. The only question I had in terms of the agreement that you've made for 60% of assessed value, do you have a guesstimate in dollars and cents as to what that amount would be?
Presently, I believe it's somewhere about 13.9? No, 60% of 13.9, isn't it?
I know the city assessor was drawing up that figure, but I'm sorry, I don't have that exact.
You don't have a dollar amount?
I'm thinking the same as you, which is the 13.9.
Well, I think presently the
Yeah, it was
yes,
just
the
at the
assess-
14. I don't have the exact dollar.
14,000 a year
Yes,
for taxes? Okay. And my other one question only is that the individual who surveyed the land and procured that it was safe and sound, he's a registered person?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. No more questions.
Councilor Penta. Welcome to come up here if you like. You can come up here if you like, Councilor Penta. Come up here if you like. I think Zambuda's the only one that knows how to work this thing, right? He's the only one that knows how to work this.
Yeah, but there's another plug usually that plugs into this.
This Charlie doesn't mind.
We'll be in a brief recess. We'll be in a brief recess.
Oswald, we'll talk for you tonight.
I'm going to suggest Councilor Penta, while the technician is dealing with this, why don't you go down to Councilor Arrigo's seat or Councilor Giannino's seat? Probably Councilor Giannino's seat. We're less likely to confuse you with her. Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think we spoke on this, like I said, actually the days are running out next week or the week after for the 90 days. And to me, this is nothing but a win situation for several reasons. One is the aesthetics of the building. It's the first building you see coming into Revere. And if anybody's seen the drawings of it, I mean, it's unbelievable, the difference that you'll see. But second of all, and foremost for me, is the children. Keeping the children after school, it's always been a thing of mine that after-school programs is the number one issue. I mean, if you look at any statistics on, no matter what it is, on a negative factor, because I'm not going to go on long here, It's the hours between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock at night when parents are working and kids have nothing to do. And that's what this is about. And there's 100% of the kids from Revere going to this after school. There's a question about that. Most of them are from my ward. I actually looked over the list of names, and a lot of them are from the Ward 1 area. So with that being said, I'm not going to hold this up. I would just ask this council to vote in favor at the committee first, and I hope you're bringing this up tonight so we can vote on this tonight. I'm not going to go on. I think I spoke on this thing at length, and I want to wish you good luck if this passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Penta. Councilor Janino has just arrived in the chambers. I don't know if Councilor Janino has any comments to make about the, for kids only, application for special permit. Councilor Janino. You can take your seat again. That was, we weren't trying to replace you. The microphone wasn't working down the other end. We're all set now. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Councilor Janino, and I know you just walked in, but you are a member of the subcommittee, so I thought perhaps you might want to have a comment.
Absolutely, well, thank you. I spoke in favor of this the first time it came up, and I'm still in favor of it, and I'm glad you guys have kept coming to all these meetings, so thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Janino. If there are, Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some questions to the applicants, if I may, and I'm sorry for being late. Was there a traffic study put in?
There is a parking study. The
A
traffic
parking
study, Sergeant Janino has not given us anything regarding the traffic. And as far as I know, there was no traffic study done, but perhaps the applicants can address that further.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just give a point of information on that.
Sure.
I'm sorry I didn't when I spoke.
All right.
I've spoken to Officer Janino, and he was actually down on the site. Sergeant Janino, and basically he told me he didn't see a problem. And I know with what happened a month or so, almost a month ago, it really set him back quite a bit on a lot of issues, because I have several in front of him, and he did verbally tell me when I was in his presence that he doesn't see a problem down there. Thank you.
Thank you. At one point, we did meet with Sergeant Janino on an unscheduled meeting. The applicant and I were at the site. Sergeant Janino came by. He spoke to us. We provided him some information. He said he didn't see a problem with it. I also had some correspondence with him subsequent to that. He was seeking some information, which I had provided to him.
Thank you. Is Councilor Novoselsky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question on your state contract. How many people do you guarantee with your state contract? Yeah, you have a state contract for social services?
Well, we will
DYS
be
or
licensed. We will be licensed for 120 children a day by the
120?
Department of Early Education and Care, and then we have a contract with the Department of Children and Families to provide for children and families on a referral basis. These are children that are under supportive and protective care of the state, and they reside in the city here. So they refer to us as when their cases are open as part of their family service plan. So, for example, if a family is in recovery for a substance addiction, if the parent is going for recovery, the state would also, as part of the family service plan, make sure that the child has some place to be safe after school while the parent is receiving
Do you have to guarantee them a certain number based on your contract with them? And that's
Yes.
that's on $22 a day that you were talking about?
The $22 a day, well, they determine for us how many children we're allowed to take. And that depends on our license. And our license is contingent upon a number of things. The space that we have the square footage that we have available, the certified staff that we have on the premise, the curriculum that we supply. So there's a number of criteria that the state will then qualify us with a number of children. So they can, right now, according to what we were told by them preliminary, they will agree to pay up to 120 children who qualify for those dollars. Those children the families must be working or qualifying for those funds. They may be going to school or job training, a military family, a family with disability, and then the state will pay.
And if I may, they'll pay up to 100. So that leaves 20 potentially additional that have to pay it on their own.
again, the children that pay, it depends. Anybody in the city can apply for this money, but you must qualify in order to get the funding, the $22 paid for by the state. And you have to pay you
And
pay a
what if they
portion
don't?
of it.
What if they don't qualify?
If they don't qualify, that means the state deems them economically able to pay $22 a day on their own.
So then they would pay $22 a day
Correct,
to you.
yeah.
But the state would
Or-
also pay $22 for their folks.
No, never more than 22.
No, but I'm just saying, the state will pay
Oh,
also
yeah, the
20.
state would pay up to 22 a
22.
day, correct, yeah.
But what I'm trying to say now, when the state does it, and they're going to give, a lot of the counselors were stating that they like to see Revere folks be part of this program.
Yes.
And the state doesn't do that. They don't pick everybody from Revere. They pick from Chelsea and Everett and Malden to come to your facility.
Right, but we have the power, we can tell who we want to prioritize. So we're prioritizing Revere children first. So I have that right as the executive director of this nonprofit to accept as many children. I'm not required to accept children from Chelsea. Okay, so I'm required to provide for these children. Now, if I would like the state to pay, some programs, for example, don't allow for any children subsidized. They want private pay only those that could afford. We don't believe that. We also believe there's a significant number of families here in the city that cannot afford 22 a day. It's a lot. So we use a number of different formulas to help offset that for the families. We have a United Way grant, and we use some of the United Way dollars, for example, to scholarship children. We can select. We work very closely here with Castles, which is the alumni supporting. We receive scholarship funds for them. They actually select a number of families from the city who they deem qualify. So there's a number of different funding sources that we can use to help support families here in the city. But we do not have to take anybody from Boston, Springfield, Lynn.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know sometimes the state says, if we're going to give you the money, we tell you who's coming in.
Right. No, not in this case. Not in the income. It's called the income eligibility money. We can make that decision. Okay.
Now, regarding parking and pickup and stuff like that, now you're providing, they told you from site plan review that you have to provide 11 spaces, 1 handicap, right? And you have how many
Yes.
employees that would be using those spaces?
We have 9, is it? Wasn't we say 9?
9 employees?
That's what, full capacity, at full capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, would you be asking to have those meters out front taken out and giving you special dispensation for parking for pickup periods or anything like that?
We really haven't felt that was a necessity because, remember, we had a site on Broadway. We had about 40 children a day there. And we had meters in front, and our families would just come in and out and, put the money in the meters. They don't stay long. They want to, they're out of work, they want to go home. So it's not, we never had a traffic issue there. I don't see that being a need at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Novoselsky. If there are no other comments, I would briefly just say I continue to be concerned about the traffic situation on that area of Broadway. It's bad as it is, and this, to me, is considerably more burdensome on the traffic situation than what is presently existing there, which is essentially a doctor's office. That is my concern right now. However, this will be taken up by the full City Council at 6 o'clock this evening, as it is required to come out now.
Okay.
So I would stick around.
Yeah, and just to make that known again, just to answer that question, remember, the children are in school most of the time. So in the morning, there's nothing happening at our place unless senior citizens want to use the facility for like a dance class but in the morning, all the children are going to their schools. That's where the traffic is. Then after school, the children are leaving the schools, going all places in the city, Youth in Motion being one of those places. But it's not the only place that children will be going. Only 120 children will be coming to this particular facility. Other children will be going to karate class or soccer practice or to their after-school programs elsewhere. So there's multiple places at that point in time at school dismissal that will be impacted, not just this place in the city.
My big concern is is rush hour traffic between
Right.
3:30 and 6:30
Yeah.
at night, and it can be very difficult down
Yeah.
there. But I'm just one person dealing with this.
Right.
As I say,
And they also remember that we don't have dismissal like school. Everybody doesn't get out at the same time. Parents come at different points in time, so we have a staggered time that children leave, so it's not impacted at school. We don't have one dismissal time. So that's why I think in the past we haven't had those problems.
Right.
Parents have the right to pick up at any time they want.
Right. Well, there are 120 kids compared to 40, and that's a significantly greater number of
Right.
children in this
Yeah.
class. All right, with that, I'll close this particular hearing, and we'll move on to the next matter. Thank
Mr.
you
Chairman,
very
All right, thank you.
You're going to report yourself favor, unfavorable? You're taking a vote on your committee?
At this point, I don't know if there's any point in doing that. It's got to come out
Well,
exactly.
use the city council, you have committee meetings to come out either,
I'm
favor
not
or against.
requesting, it's not a mandatory matter, and I'm not requesting
Well,
it at
that's the
this
first,
point.
that's the first, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
The next matter on the agenda,
Save him for last.
okay, yep, is application C13-05, Louis Rubino, trustee Rubino Family Trust, care of 1 Sprague Street, Revere, Mass., seeking permission from the Revere City Council to convert an existing mixed-use residential retail non-conforming structure to a mixed residential restaurant use to enable the appellant to operate a bistro-style pizzeria with takeout at 744 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts. Please identify yourself, sir.
Mr. Chairman, subcommittee members, Joseph Cottogio, 1 Sprague Street, Revere, representing Rubino Family Trust. The present owners of 744 Broadway who are seeking a special permit to alter the present use. It is presently, the property at 744 Broadway is presently a mixed-use residential and commercial location, but it previously served for many, many years as the location for Revere Aluminum retail customer service area. We are seeking that same area within the building to be used as a bistro-style family restaurant. We've submitted plans with the application. The plans include not only the renovations inside, but also the renovations of the exterior, as we indicated in our previous meeting, that those renovations to the exterior will consist of facelift only, not any expansion or addition to be added to the property. We are not relocating any walls, but we will upgrade the face of the building so that it not only complies with, but we hope exceeds the mayor's guidelines on renovations on Broadway. We've designed our lighting, our facade to meet those requirements, so we look to be a positive facelift for this area. As far as the changes inside, I believe the design is very open with regard to the kitchen, the service area, the prep area. That will allow us full compliance with the fire department regulations, full compliance with the Board of Health. We look forward to working with all of the departments in Revere, the Building Department, Board of Health, and Fire, to comply with all of their regulations. We would be seeking nothing more than standard hours of operation. We're not looking to burden the area in any way. We fully intend to be good neighbors. These applicants have been longtime clients of mine. Personally, I would recommend them highly on any endeavor that they would seek. We're here to answer any questions, and hopefully we can get a favorable ruling on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Cottagio. I just want to make sure that you're aware that site plan review is offered three additional conditions to the city, for the city council's consideration. First, that the fire department shall review the plans for compliance with fire safety and suppression codes. 2, that the building shall be brought into compliance for handicapped accessibility. And 3, that the building shall be limited to one exterior sign to be illuminated from the top by gooseneck lighting overhanging the sign, and sign material shall be comprised of high-density urethane, that's HDU, or similar composite that provides a wood appearance. Are you aware of them?
Yes, we are, and we are those are acceptable terms. We're fine with all of those.
Very well. I'll turn it over to the subcommittee. Councilor Haas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe, how many chairs will you have in there to serve? I didn't see it in the information.
The plans show for a 12-seat,
12? Small.
four-table, very small, yeah. It's mostly takeout, walking. There are some seats, but it'll be well within code and again, bistro style. So
I
it'll
think
be-
it's a welcome addition to the
Yep.
corner of Broadway and Revere Street. Thank you. I'll vote for it.
Thank you, Councilor Haas. Councilor Correggio?
Thank you, Chairman Reardon. Basically, that building is kind of an eyesore right now with that sign next to it, Revere Aluminum. I think it would enhance the area. It's only a takeout with few seatings in there. I think it's a win-win for the area. I don't think they're going to cause any problems. There's other business. It's business zoned, that area anyway, and I would support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio. Councilor Janino?
Thank you. I agree with Councilor Correggio. I think that it's a great update for the area. The plans look absolutely beautiful, and any restaurants and businesses like that are always welcome on Broadway to make the community look like a better place, so thank you.
As I believe Councilor Guanasso is the ward councilor for that area, and if there are no other comments from this side of the room, I'll ask Councilor Guanasso to offer his opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The actual use is to change it to the residential use retail. Actually, every single business down there is in a similar situation. Look across the street to Sebastian's, they have residential upstairs. Look next door at the Anthony's Market, there's residential upstairs. So they're not, the use in the area that they're asking to be changed to is contiguous with what else is in the area. So I don't see any objection at all to this particular plan, and I think that Antonella not only will do a good job, she lives right down the street in Rossetti Street, and she's mindful of the fact that you know, what everybody wants and everybody needs in that area, and who better serve to our area residents than someone who lives in the area. So I look forward to Antonella and coming to the area and brightening it up a bit and giving everybody a good feed, and I know you will. So congratulations. I think we'll go forward, and I have absolutely no objections to this whatsoever.
Thank you, Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Guanasso basically said it. You know, it's good when you see a Revere residents coming here to do business because, you know, they have a double interest in it. And she has several family members that own several other businesses in the city. I know them, and they run professional and very clean and you know, impeccable things. And you'll be a credit to the to Revere. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
If there are no other comments from the audience, we will. I will entertain a motion on this matter, since it is before the usual time that it takes to discuss these things, to take it up to the City Council tonight. All right. All in favor and all opposed? The subcommittee has unanimously reported out this favorably. Mr. Cottagio, if you'd like to stick around for the full City Council meeting, you're welcome to. From the comments I've heard tonight, I imagine that there'll probably be fairly strong approval, but feel free to stick around. Thank you. We are going to, at the request of Council Novoselsky, move to the fourth item on the agenda, CZ-13-01. This is an application by Black Marble Motorcycles LLC, 1760 Revere Beach Parkway, Everett, Massachusetts, 84 Clinton Street, Belmont, and Wesley LLC, 84th Street, Belmont, seeking to amend the zoning ordinances of the City of Revere as follows. Section 1, Title 17, Chapter 17.16, Section 17.16.040. Generally, Table of Uses of the revised ordinances of the City of Revere, subsection D. Business uses and consumer services is hereby amended by adding Class 1 and Class 2 motor vehicle sale use as available uses by special permit in the Industrial Park Zoning District. My understanding is the applicant is here, represented by counsel. Please state your name and your address, sir.
My name is Corey Rhodes. I'm an attorney with D'Ambrosio Brown, LLP of 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. And I see that we have some more information here this evening regarding the proposal. Would you give us a brief presentation, if you would?
To give you a little background, we were before the City Council last month on the petition to amend the zoning ordinance to expand the use in the IP district to include Class 1 and Class 2 motor vehicle sales by special permit. This is for the Harley-Davidson of Boston, franchisee of the great kind of American brand Harley-Davidson. They want to come to Revere, invest in Revere, spend $14 million to set up a hub for their New England operation in the city of Revere. And they want to do this, as you can see, at the old Johnny's Foodmaster site in the neighboring building, the Vacant Valleys. This is in the IP district. and it currently does not allow for any motor vehicle sales, and that's why we've brought this amendment to the ordinance. As you can see from the packet that I've provided and from these slides, it's a little bit run down right now, and I think vacant buildings are never good for the city, and they really want to change that. This is a complete renovation. This is $14 million. This is a whole facelift for this property. As you can see from the renderings, they're really putting in a substantial amount of work to clean it up and make for a much better site. So to bring this great brand and great company to the city, they're asking for this first step to amend the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Attorney Rhodes. I'll open this up to the subcommittee. Any Councilor Hess?
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman. Anyone that would like to invest $14 million in Revere and improve a area that needs great improvement, I'll be for, without question. I think the City Council should, without question, grant the relief that's being requested. It's a national company, matter of fact, worldwide, and I just basically wish they would take my suggestion and make it Harley-Davidson or Revere, but again, I'm not sure the Boston contingent, you know.
Yeah, I think there's just some licensing concerns, that's
exactly.
all.
But again, Mr. Chairman, I'm for it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Chairman Reardon. Again, this is a win-win for the city of Revere. I have to be honest, that area down there is kind of a blighted area. The buildings look terrible. Harley-Davidson is well known, again, worldwide. It's a tremendous company, first-class company, and it's going to broaden, again, the city of Revere's tax base. And this is what we need in Revere, more commercial development instead of apartment buildings or things like that. So these are things not only myself but the council likes to vote for, is more development. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio. I'd like to welcome Councilor Zambudo and Councilor Powers to the chamber. Do any other committee members? Councilor Janino.
Thank you. I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a great company, it's a reputable company, and it's an American company. And we can always use more of those in our city, so we'll be happy to have it here. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Councilor Janino. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome this Harley-Davidson to my ward. As you know, in the last few years, we've built up the commercial base in the Squire Road area, and this was like the next area that really need development. And for one, I would never have believed that just one company would come in and buy the whole thing. And when I look at the pictures and the feedback I get from the people in my ward, they seem to be very happy with this coming in. And I just hope my colleagues, which I think they will, vote this in tonight. And it's just a real good thing for the city of Revere. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Patch. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although I'm not on the committee, I do want to lend my voice to the gratitude of my colleagues. We're thrilled to have them here. I'm looking forward to that big flag donning that area. And I think Councilor Correggio said right now it's a blighted area. This is going to transform it wonderfully. We wish you all the luck in the world, and anything we can do to help, we are here to help. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Again, I'm not a actual full member of the committee, but I do have some issue. I think it's a great program. I'm looking to see that area picked up. But in the back of my mind, several years ago, we tried to put a Class 2 into the TED district and allow it there. And the only way we could do it, it was through the legislature. Now, I'm wondering if this is the same scenario. I'm not sure that we can just do this by ordinance change. So, I have a question with that. And again, I'm not against the program. I just want to make sure we do the right thing the right way. And, I know several years ago, we did that for someone in the TED district when we wanted to allow a Class 2 to move into that district. Now, so I'm just concerned that we want to make sure to do this the right way. And it's not that I want to throw any monkey wrenches into it. Again, I just want to make sure it's done properly. And if we could maybe, if we can check in it through Frank Stringy, and unless the clerk has some comments on it, I open.
I believe back in 2006, special legislation was filed to, the language of the legislation stated that there shall be no transfer of licenses. And then you had changed it a couple of years afterwards to allow a transfer of license into the TED and IP districts.
I would agree with that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you would. Okay, well, I just wasn't exactly sure. I thought it was just for the TED, but if it was for the IP, I stand corrected, and I say move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Novoselsky, and that's an excellent point. I assume Attorney Rhodes giving the exorbitant amount of money that Attorney D'Ambrosio was paying him has researched this, but I would defer to the attorneys to, if they feel as though it is necessary to get an opinion from the solicitor, I would certainly do that, but I see Attorney D'Ambrosio confidently shaking his head there, so...
Thank you. It is a good issue, but indeed we have researched it. I'm fairly confident that whether it's classified as a 1 or a 2, we're fine. This is the resale of the sale of new motorcycles, and potentially with trade-ins, you have a situation where you may have used bikes. Those all come under as an ancillary use under a Title I license anyway. So we're set either way. So there should be no issue. I do not believe an opinion is needed.
Thank you, Councilor D'Ambrosio. If there are no other councilors, I would make a couple of comments. First of all, Councilor Haas and Councilor Correggio certainly absolutely have hit the nail on the head here on this one. Although I don't consider the area to be blighted, that's kind of a strong term, it's certainly heading that way given the number of vacancies down there. And for an iconic brand such as Harley-Davidson to come along and invest this kind of money in the entire several parcels that, again, are at the point they're going to be maybe sitting empty for a long time is, I think, an excellent opportunity for what I view as a necessary endeavor by this city, and that's to preserve our commercial property, so for commercial uses. Far too much of it has gone over to residential, creating some of the problems which we face now with schools and public safety and just about anything you can think of. So I really am pleased to see this, and it looks like it's going to be a real asset to the city, and we drive by the operation in Everett all the time, and clearly it's a well-maintained building, well-maintained area, and the fact that they need more area and we have it to offer, I think, is a great is a marriage made in heaven, so to speak. So with that, I will entertain a motion of report. Oh, Councilor Rigo just joined us. Councilor Rigo, we're taking up the Black Marble Motorcycles LLC. I don't know if you have any particular comments as a committee member.
No comments.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'll take up a motion at this point to report this out to the favorably.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? All opposed. So this will be reported out favorably at the 6 o'clock meeting of the City Council. I assume, based on the comments that I've heard from virtually the entire City Council, which is here right now, that we'll probably have a favorable vote on this, but you are certainly welcome to stay for the 6 o'clock meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
The next matter on the agenda, I'm going to take up the last two matters together, the C13-09, C13-010 petitions for special permits from Van Wagner Communications LLC to modify non-conforming use, which is an existing billboard on Lot 1 at 40 Lee Dearbank Highway in Revere, and at Lots 1 and 4 at 1141 Revere Beach Parkway, Revere, Massachusetts. And please identify yourself and your address, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, through to the members of the Zoning Subcommittee and members of the City Council here present. Richard Linz on behalf of Van Wagner Communications with respect to the two petitions that you announced. As indicated, we're before the City Council on two separate special permit applications for existing outdoor advertising devices located at 40 Lee Burbank Highway, as well as 1141 Revere Beach Parkway. By way of brief history, these outdoor advertising devices, for lack of a better term, called billboards, have existed at these locations for probably better than 8 years. They were authorized by special permit and various zoning, relief from the Revere zoning code back when they were originally constructed. This council may be familiar with the fact that the Office of Outdoor Advertising, which regulates outdoor advertising in the Commonwealth, has recently adopted regulations to permit outdoor advertisers to convert existing or new billboards to a digital media. That digital media has been used throughout the Commonwealth at a pilot program and a sort of test case. You may have seen them along Route 93 and other locations throughout the Commonwealth. The proposal here is to convert these 2 locations to that digital media. In order to do so, that process must start with the municipality. Because these are pre-existing non-conforming uses and structures, the Revere Zoning Code, Section 1740.20, requires that we obtain special permits from the Special Permit Granting Authority, and therefore that's the reason before the City Council. By way of certainly what my client is willing to do with respect to these applications, although we feel that it's a very straightforward petition before the council and a very straightforward change at this level, we recognize the significance of having these licenses and these permits in the city, and certainly my client is willing to recognize that financially with the city. So there is a commitment to contribute $40,000 total. That would be $10,000 per face to the city of Revere. I would point out, considering the leases for these properties are each in excess of 25 years, that is a potential for at least $1 million to the city, provided these billboards continue to stand. My client has no intention to remove them, since they tend to be somewhat lucrative once they are constructed. In addition to that, there's a $5,000 commitment per year to the Sandcastle Sculpture Festival in Revere Beach that's held annually. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the subcommittee as well as the members of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Linz. I'll entertain questions from the subcommittee first. Pass. Councilor Rigo. No questions. Anybody over here? One question that did come up was, I think we were discussing at some point the requirement for the special permit and whether it existed at all. My understanding was that your original opinion was that it might not, but that you were applying for it. My question is, does this special permit exceed what the state would allow on their permitting scheme? In other words, X amount of permits for electronic signs are allowed by the state. By special permitting this, are we inviting X plus 1 or 2?
Understood. The permitting, for those unfamiliar with how outdoor advertising is permitted in the Commonwealth, there is municipal approval as well as state approval. All billboards that are built in the Commonwealth, I should say mostly all billboards that are built in the Commonwealth, must meet local zoning requirements first before they can apply for approval from the Office of Outdoor Advertising. The application form requires a separate check list that says that the municipal approval has been granted and must be signed by the duly appointed municipal official. The municipality can act independently of the state outdoor advertising requirements. The state can deny the issuance of a permit, where a municipality can grant the special permit. But to keep the two separate, the municipality is required to deal with all local zoning issues, and the state deals with the outdoor advertising issues. So in this particular case, the short answer would be the state can do whatever it wants in granting the permit, the municipality can do what it wants.
Well, I guess that answers the question. If I understand the answer to your question, if the state permits, if we were to, first of all, the state would require us to special permit any outdoor change in the advertising from non-electronic to electronic. Is that accurate?
Unless it was not authorized by right, then the state would require either special permit or variance, whatever is required.
Or some evidence that there was a by right use, correct?
Which would come in the form of the municipal certification in the application that's submitted to the Office of Outdoor Advertising.
So right now, all of our advertising billboard signs require a special permit in any case, correct?
I wouldn't be able to answer every billboard. I assume that outdoor advertising, I do this in different municipalities, so I assume outdoor advertising as it is in most municipalities, is either forbidden use or authorized by special permit only. There are probably no I don't know any municipality offhand right now that has as of right outdoor advertising.
Understood. But if it, just playing the devil's advocate here, if there were some of right use at this point, and we authorized a special permit in addition to the of right uses, we would be inviting more signs than electronic signs, at least, than the state would normally permit.
I think there's no cap on the number of outdoor advertising devices the Commonwealth can approve anyhow. The regulations place no limitation on that.
Right.
As for digital advertising, there are some enhanced limitations on the number of signs, or where the signs can be located, I should say. Because of the density of the number of outdoor advertising devices in the city of Revere presently, it would seem that the limitations on the number of signs would be controlled by the regulations. For example, there's a limitation that there can be no digital media within 1,000 feet of another digital sign on either side of the roadway, so you create an automatic radius when you make it. Should this board grant approval and the state grant approval, then there's an automatic radius built in. In addition, there can certainly be no other sign within 500 feet of another for new construction, and that's all under the state regulations. So regardless of whether or not a municipality were to approve it, the state would still have a second bite at the apple.
I see. So in other words, the exclusionary zone is controlled by state law as opposed to anything the city of town could do.
Right. The city can approve as many billboards as they want. The state can limit it based upon the regulations.
Very well. Thank you very much for answering your questions. Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, once again. I just want the people to realize who may be viewing this on TV or the media that Revere has 86 billboards, probably the most of any community around this area here. What we are doing at the City Council is basically not increasing the number of billboards. We're not increasing the size, the dimensions of the billboards. They're working from the existing confines of the current billboard, and that's all the City Council is doing. I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that.
Through the chair, I can affirm that this changes nothing. This has nothing to do with the size, orientation, height.
Right.
It's simply changing the medium by which the message is displayed.
Move to approve.
Thank you. I think Councilor Zambudo has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the latitude. In the same vein of Councilor Hass, I wanted to say that not only are we not adding a billboard, what we're adding is $40,000 a year in revenue plus $5,000 for sandcastles. So what we're doing here is changing 2 billboards to digital media and bringing in revenue of $40,000 per year and $5,000 extra to the Sandsculpting Festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councilor Zambudo makes a good point, $45,000 a year. That's probably the equivalent of what 10 two-family homes would be paying in taxes in this city. A lot of money, and it becomes even more valuable when you factor in the equation of there's no kids coming off those billboards and going to school. We're not picking up any trash from those billboards. It's a positive win for the city. One of those billboards, my understanding, is on the East Boston line. Unless you were a surveyor, you wouldn't even know it was in the city of Revere to begin with. And the other one is also on a major highway. I think to not support this would be insane. This is definitely a positive cash flow for the city, and I want to say right now I'll be supporting this if it comes out of committee, and I hope it will come out of committee this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Councilor Ganassa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, I don't think the aesthetic value of any of our community is going to be diminished in any way by the digital performance of these billboards. I didn't think, in fact, digital performance to me is more in conducting better business, and it looks nicer. I think its presence is a lot nicer. I just think this is a win for all of us, and I think that the City of Revere, after they see the finished product, we'll say, what was all the fuss about? This is really nothing to fuss about because it's really aesthetically valuable. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Ganasso. And I don't believe there's anybody here that's opposed to this measure, but I will invite anybody who's out there that wants to propose it in a moment. But just say that I'd like to say that the other thing about an electronic sign is it's bound to be require less supervision from our inspectional services, simply because maintaining the sign, failing to maintain the sign would not be cost effective for the owner of the sign or the advertiser who are paying a lot of money to advertise on it. In many cases, we see dilapidated paper signs, paper falling off billboards, et cetera, when there's no one around to rent them. I don't think we'd have that problem with an electronic sign, simply because in order to get anybody to rent it, it has to be maintained without fail. I believe that, I don't believe that. And Councilor Powers and I were just in Florida, and we went through, and these signs are far more prolific in places like Florida for whatever reason. I suppose the flat countryside or whatever, but they are all over the place. We're actually a little behind the times in that, so to speak. So this matter, I will entertain a motion from the...
Mr. Chairman, once again, any company wants to send Revere's Way $1 million over the 25-year contract is welcome. I move we approve.
All in favor on the subcommittee, and all opposed? This will be reported out favorably to the City Council 6 o'clock meeting in about an hour and 5 minutes. If you want to stick around, you can. Otherwise, we'll be voting on it in any case, more than likely.
Am I required to answer questions at the council meeting?
I don't believe, since this is the City Council right now, they certainly had their opportunity, unless they think of some in the meantime, which I doubt. But if you have, if you and your clients have other things to do, better things to do, I think you'll probably be okay.
I think they'll be here. I just have to get out to another hearing. I just didn't know if there would be further questions at the council hearing.
No, I don't believe so. I think I would ask any councilors right now that have any other further questions to think of them rather rapidly, so we can alleviate these gentlemen of having to stick around for the 6 o'clock meeting.
Thank you.
That, I guess, is your answer, although it's not official. And I would ask, if there isn't anybody out here opposed, anybody sitting before us opposed to this at this point, then we'll close this hearing as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last matter we have before us is item C13-08, Paul Bonfiglio, 345 Revere Street, Revere, Mass, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to convert a pre-existing non-conforming structure from 4 residential units and 1 commercial unit to 5 residential units and 1 commercial unit on Lot 7 at 245 Revere Street, Revere, Mass. Mr. Bonfiglio, thank you for coming tonight. Would you state your name and your address, please?
There we go. Paul Bonfiglio, 20 Wing Road, Linfield, Massachusetts. I was here 2 weeks ago before you. Basically, what I'm trying to do is to legalize a non-conforming building. It's 6 one-bedroom units. And I think, unless you have any questions, I think it's pretty much clear as to what I'm looking for.
All right, in that case, I'll open it up to the subcommittee. Councilor Correggio seems most anxious to ask questions, so let's say something anyway.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I know the Bonfiglio family a long time. He's not changing anything structurally. It's just basically the same building. It's just basically a language change, I guess, with the amount of units that's in the building there. So I don't see a big problem. I would be in favor of it. It's pretty cut and dry. Thank you.
Anybody else? Does site plan review kick in anything on this thing, by the way?
No, the city planner did not provide any recommendations because everything is taking place inside the building. Site planner is usually for the outside.
Good point. No other questions? All in favor? All opposed? This matter will be reported out favorably to the full City Council at 6 o'clock. I don't see a large amount of opposition, at least of those members who happen to be here right now, but you are welcome to stay for the full City Council meeting. Paul, if you like, otherwise you can find better use of your time.
I do have services to get back to.
As long as they're not mine.
Okay. Okay, thank you all very much.
With that, I believe that is the last matter for business before the zoning subcommittee. The Ways and Means subcommittee will be meeting in a matter of minutes. Thank you for your attendance and attention.